transparent and showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in this world. Okay? And that needs a bracha that's a holy act. And everybody who does it is doing it, is getting the mitzvah. And that's the Birchas Torah. And that's what the Jewish people didn't do. What that means is, when they learned Torah, they did not relate to Torah as something from beyond themselves that was enlightening their world. Torah was just an instrument. That is clearly a problem we have today. When you, and that's why we don't have Eretz Yisrael. It's right here in the Gemara. That's why I think there's no peace and we still have a lot of problems. When you have people, and we are all guilty of this, okay, who steal the Torah. They might learn a lot of Torah, but they've stolen it and they've trapped it in their own little world to fulfill their own little needs and promote their own agendas. Okay? Proof that that's how they're operating with the Torah. Anytime people hate other people, anytime people reject everybody who's different than them, every time people have sinas chinam and call people names, and deny anybody having any validity if they don't see the world their way, they are trapped in that room and they don't see that they need everybody else, and everybody else being different than them is a blessing and not a threat. And Hashem needs a lot of people with a lot of different ways of seeing things. And hating everybody who's different means that we're trapped. And I'll tell you another Gemara here. Gemara Brachas 35a. Okay? Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, whoever enjoys anything of this world without a bracha, it is as though he has partaken of the holy things of heaven. In other words, he has stolen, including Torah. If he doesn't make a bracha, he doesn't recognize it comes from Hashem, we've stolen it. As it says in Tehillim, La Hashem ha'aretz u'meloa, that this world belongs to Hashem. So if we take anything from this world without appreciating that it comes from Hashem, we've stolen it. So Rabbi Levi asks, it is written, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, La Hashem ha'aretz u'meloa. And it is written, V'shamayim shamayim la Hashem, v'aretz nasan lebnei adam. But the heavens is God, but earth is ours. So which one is it? So they answer, there is no contradiction. The former passage saying, La Hashem ha'aretz, the earth is God's, is before one makes a bracha. The second one that says, Hashamayim shamayim Hashem ba'aretz nasan livnei adam, he gave the earth us, that's after you make a bracha. In other words, without making a bracha, even on Torah, you don't realize that your Torah is God's. It's a truth beyond yourself. It's not yours. It's not yours to distort entirely for your own purposes and hate everyone who has a different reading and a different interpretation, as long as that interpretation that someone else has is sincerely open to Hashem's truth and it's not an alternative to Hashem's truth. There's shivim panim la Torah. The serious problem is, the big sin is, trapping the Torah in that room with us and not seeing that it comes from a different world and not understanding that it's there to enlighten us. My grandfather used to say it this way. He would say, some people think that the Torah is, another way of saying it, is a book, a sefer, that's exclusively about physical life and how to operate in the physical world, and the characters in the Torah are characters like you and like me, and they have flaws and I have flaws, and so I look in the Torah to see how they handle things, how I should handle things, but it's all very much in the perspective of human and human frailty, and then you can take from that position this sense of it's anti-intellectual because it's ignoring Chazal and it's ignoring that the Torah is coming from another place. And you can say what you want. Oh, this one was was a bad father, and this one was a bad mother, and this one didn't know like a psychoanalyze things that Chazal don't say, freedoms we take to denigrate these great people. So my grandfather says they're looking at the Torah like they're looking in a mirror. Oh, he has a zit, I have a zit. So my grandmother says, no, the Torah is a mirror. But it's not a mirror you look in that only reflects you back at yourself. The Torah is the kind of mirror you will find like in the Hubble telescope that's 200 feet wide. And what it's doing is it's reflecting the galaxies back to the human eye. And without that mirror, you would not get a glimpse of the cosmos, the whole universe beyond yourself. Look past yourself. That's the Torah. The great heights that human beings could reach despite their physical challenges. How they handled, in the light of a greater truth, their own challenges. Not how they just swirled around in a whirlpool going nowhere because they had no other way to understand or deal with their life than what they could figure out. Go past, look beyond. This is the not breaking, not making brachas on the Torah. When they traveled, when they ran away from Har Hashem, when Alma Avda Haaretz, why was the land lost? They didn't want to see. Why didn't they want to see the whole world truth? Because it's hard to receive that Torah and keep your eyes open to it at all times. Because by definition, it forces you to get past yourself. It forces you to be objective and not go take the easy route and see the world the way you prefer to and what makes sense and what's easy and what's comfortable. It's not easy. It's very hard to live with open eyes to the world beyond yourself, to be more objective, less self-centered, more focused on a truth that comes from not our own minds, except if you're Avraham, okay, but a revealed truth from Hashem. It means that everything we do has to be reevaluated. Rav Yashaber said a beautiful thing. He says, often we compare a secular life as a life that's confused and with no meaning and no purpose and very unsatisfying and very shallow, right? And we confuse, and then we say religious life is a stable, rooted life of security and assurance that you're right, you're doing the right thing. He says it's really not true. A secular life, which is a life trapped in that room, is pretty okay. There's only one truth, it's mine. I devote all my energies to me. Everyone else is basically a threat unless I could use them. And that's about it. And so everything is a version of that. But when you live in a religious life and you keep that glass transparent, this is not easy. I have my will, and then there's Hashem's will. I got to measure how I see things against a truer way of seeing things, you know. I want to do something, but the mitzvah says that's usur. The Torah says usur. I don't want to do something, the Torah says you must, because that's going to keep you connected. Don't forget the word mitzvah is a funny word. It should just be a tzivoy, a command. Mitzvah is a combination of two words, mitzuva and mitzaveh, the commander and the commandee. It's the connection between us. That's a hard world. That's a world of coming and going and trying and closing our eyes and opening our eyes and trying to stay, connected. Now, that's the challenge here. They were about to go to Eretz Yisrael, okay? About to go to Eretz Yisrael. And it's not so easy to get there. This is for us. It's not so easy. It's not a straight path, boom, 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 and here I go. This is not what happens. What happens is we go backwards. We say, no, we don't want to give up everything as we like it, our pleasures. We want meat. First, the body asserts itself. We want meat. We want physical pleasure. We don't want to be such ascetics who don't indulge. We want things that make us comfortable. We want a physical life without constantly keeping that spiritual world in focus. That's going to infringe upon us as children. We were young. And then Moshe wasn't, said, I can't handle this because I live in transparency. Remember Moshe, Spaklar Yamira? I don't relate. Moshe says, I'm not the leader. He basically says, I'm not the leader. Moshe says, you want me to carry them like a nursing mother carries their infant suckling child? My relationship to Hashem, Moshe is saying, is I'm like a child nursing from Hashem. I'm in total transparency. I don't get caught up in this world or any of it. Moshe was in a different plane. And by the way, and when they complained about the mun, and we're going to end in a minute, I know it's late, all the language that they used about the mun that they complained about is language that relates to nursing. Getting that child out. That child, the world, that's a combined effort of mother and father. And that's hard in and of itself. But the next phase is nursing. The Jewish people say, we don't want this because it doesn't taste like cucumbers and melons. You know what Rashi says about that? Things that were not good for nursing mothers. Do you know what the mun is called? Lashad Hashemen. Shidayim is the breast, nursing. Moshe says, I can't nurse them. In other words, what's happening here, and this is what happens in our undeveloped young state. We reject nursing. We don't want to be that. We don't want to be part of our mother. We want to be separate. A child stops nursing. No, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to eat meat. I want to be separate. And that's natural, and that's healthy, and that's normal. And it's part of the progress, part of the process. And Am Yisrael, as infants, are going through that. We're like too close, too much. There's no self. It's very hard to give up the self. But what happens is slowly over the course of time, okay? Over the course of time, we find a balance. This is the 1,000-year story of the Jewish people. We find a balance between being a separate entity and still keeping close to Hashem. You know how a little child nurses, then pulls away, then runs, and comes back? They want to be separate, but they want to be attached. Like that back and forth. That's real. We want to be separate. We want to do our own thing in this world. Hashem gave us a lot of talents. He knows what we're supposed to do. But we want to know Hashem is all around us, surrounding us. When we fall, when we go back into that room, that's called falling. So mech Hashem, we could always come back out of it. That's tshuva. Keep the walls transparent. I'll end with this idea. We have a halacha on Shabbos, because we're going into Shabbos. There's a halacha. Now you'll understand this halacha in a metaphysical way. You have to be Kadesh the Shabbos. Right? You have to make Kiddush. Okay? Kiddush means we take this day and we say, this is a different kind of day. On this day, the mirrors become more transparent. Now there's a halacha about Kiddush. Kiddush b'makom suda. You have to make Kiddush where you eat your meal. What is that saying? That's when you get an neshama yisera, by the way. When you daven marv, is machlokas. When does an neshama, when you makabel Shabbos, you get a neshama yisera. The reason you don't feel like you're dying when your neshama leaves you Motzei Shabbos, why don't you feel like you're dying if your neshama is leaving you? Because existing on Shabbos is correctly. It's a world where there's a world of me and I have a Suda, but it's elevated. Those walls are clear, and I move between them. I see Hashem's Torah and how it affects me in my world, and I act according to it. I have a clear a flow between the two worlds. And the neshama comes from that world into this world. It has no issues going back because there's no division. You don't feel a separation because you're not living in a world of separation anymore. That's the Shabbos. That's the neshama yisera. You make Kiddush b'makom suda, which means the place you have your physical meal. That place becomes elevated. That place becomes, that experience of eating Suda Shabbos. Your physical, your spiritual, it's all one. My grandfather used to say this on Shabbos afternoon. So you just ate the Suda Shabbos. He said, it's a Suda's mitzvah. Tell me, what did you enjoy? The Suda or the mitzvah? With this we'll end. May we all be zocha to, first of all, always make the Berachas Torah. And be zocha to learn and understand and be more and more aware every day of the truths beyond ourselves and make them part of ourself. Amen.